be showing you all of these weapons, all of the uh, pistols, or all the pistols, because you know what, we're just gonna run through all of them. This might be a long video, but there's a lot of things here. So let's start off with this one. The game calls it the 6P9. I'm not exactly sure what this is called. Has a very small magazine, probably like 8 rounds in here. But suppressor, integrated suppressor. Here are the sights. It's a cool thingy. It doesn't do much damage in the game. In fact, how much damage does it do? 20. Just 20. Yeah. Doesn't hold much. You can't really get much of a magazine upgrade for this. Probably only like 16 round mag, which in this game isn't very big. I'm not sure what it shoots in real life, but I imagine it's something small like 22. But yeah, cool thing about this game is this happens occasionally because I think it's cool that in this game it actually shows empty. Some of the earlier guns that they introduced are spent a little bit more time in before they're actually in the game. They actually spent some time in the game. Next up, I know exactly what this thing is. It is the CZ75 Shadow, and it's an interesting thing. Decently sized magazine, I think 16 or 17 rounds. It's loud. I believe it shoots 9mm. Other than that, I'm not really sure. It's got a bit of tactical rail right there. It does have, this is one of the first guns implemented, or one of the first pistols implemented in the game. It's got a safety, and that's really it. For those of you who played Counter-Strike, there is not the fully automatic version. My controller is acting a bit weird today, but yeah, that's that. There's the magazine. I believe it's double stacked, obviously. It's interesting, but not my favorite because it's too loud and it doesn't really work with suppressors that well. Let's go on to the Deagle, or the Desert Eagle 50 AE. This is a big magazine, has like 7 rounds in there. Shoots a big bullet, 50 AE. Yeah. Sorry for the voice crack, I don't know why that was. There's 3, or in this game, there's a couple different variants, or 2 different variants, as you can see here. The Deagle Gold and the Platinum. The reason that is I guess it can be called an iconic weapon, or I guess if it's an iconic weapon, they'll add different skins to it, or like different features. So, yeah, this is just the standard one. So yeah, it shows an empty mag, which is kind of cool, and it does that, which is also pretty cool. Now, you're probably thinking, do these different skins colors or different variants have different damage? Well, they do different damage. This one, I believe, actually no, let's show you guys what damage these do. So let me put up a target really quick. We'll show you guys the damage. Anyways, so the standard Deagle, I did charge it. Standard Deagle, I don't know what that was, 65 damage, and I believe the gold one does 75. If it could pop back up, please. Come on. There we go. Yeah, 75. So this does 75. There is no difference in capacity size. However, I believe if you get a gold version, it unlocks all the highest different ammunitions, different amounts of ammunition. It unlocks all the ammunition types. So if you really wanted to change ammunition, you could. but these are just default ammo. This is the platinum version. It's really not that different from the standard one, except it's got a little bit decal. It's got the same decal as the gold one. Just this one. This one's the most expensive deagle you can buy. Does also 75 damage, which is kind of odd. But I believe it does more damage if you do these ammunition. If you do different ammunitions, so it's from standard ammunition all the way up to what they call the zombie ammunition, and that can change your ammunition decently. I think you have to change weapon, so here. Get this one? I guess not, so yeah, that's kind of stupid, but anyways. Let's move on to the Glock 17. There's 2 Glocks in this game. I don't know why I'm pressing the menu button, but this is the first Glock, and honestly, don't buy this one. If you get this game, don't buy this gun. It's very useless. Unless you want the achievement to get all of the weapons, which I currently have that achievement, because it's really easy to get huge amounts of money. I'm not going to explain this one because this one's really boring. Everyone knows what a Glock is. This is a Glock 17. Don't buy this gun because it is a little bit cheaper than the Glock 18, but you might as well just buy this if you want a Glock 17, because not only does it come with the ability to shoot semi-auto, you can also shoot full auto, which is really loud. But yeah, if you hate having short magazines, this is probably not a good option. For some apparent reason, I don't know if they changed the where is it? I don't know if they changed the rate of fire on this, but it seems like they did. Oh, how am I out of the play area? Oh, that's why I'm out of the play area. But it seems like they changed the rate of fire on this a little bit. But put a magazine in there, of course. You can sort of tell the difference. Keep that there. It seems like they changed the rate of fire between if the suppressor's on there and the suppressor's not on there. It's really darn loud, but the suppressor, it's better, but it's just cooler in my opinion. So yeah, that's about that. I'm gonna keep the suppressor here, so whenever we have another weapon. As you just saw, it does 26 damage, and that's the same thing for both Glocks. So don't buy the Glock 17, because the Glock 18 is just a better overall purchase. This is a classic gun, and this is the M1911. I'm not sure if this is a Browning one. I can't really read the inscriptions, but if you know that like brand, it looks like a horse. You would know. So yeah. 1911, 45 ACP, really loud. Well, not exactly loud, but does some pretty good damage in this game. But for low capacity, it's okay. I mean, it can take suppressors, which is pretty cool. They don't really exactly do good work on the suppressors, because most of the guns actually sound the same with suppressors, which I think they should fix that. Since it is an iconic weapon, it does have a different variant, and this is the Colt. I'm not really sure what it is. M1911. I'm pretty sure this. I don't know who that is, but it's probably the owner or guy who made this. This is the 1911 M1911 SP, which probably means special. This does do more damage. 44, I believe. How much did the standard one do? 37, so there you go. This does take a suppressor. Takes this, sounds exactly the same. I just like this a little bit better just because it looks a little cooler. Let's move on to the next one, which I guess is sort of iconic, is M9 Beretta. Was this adopted by the military for a while? Yeah. It takes a suppressor, and it's pretty darn cool. I used this at the beginning of the game for a while. Pretty decent mag size. It's really loud, too. I hate how this thing is so loud, but that's probably why I use mostly suppressors in this game. So because it's sort of an iconic weapon, they added a different version, which is the M9 Steel, which is just a shinier looking version than the standard Beretta, which is really cool with any suppressor. I mean, it's really darn cool. So, yeah. Let's move on to the next one, which the next one is the first revolver. Well, not first revolver in the game. It's the first revolver we're going to see, and this is actually the most powerful revolver, doing 298 damage. And when you get the zombie ammunition, this thing almost does 1,000 damage, which is completely insane. So this is called the Matiba or Mataba. I'm not really sure how this thing is called, but it's a revolver. It holds 6 shells in there. Then you can just either you can hit it in there, which is a new feature that they added, or you can flick it in there, which has always been a feature. Also something that's you can rotate the cylinder, which I didn't know you could do. Also, you can manually prime back the hammer. You do not have to, which is completely bizarre. I do want to tell you that all the revolvers do not take suppressors, and they're very not tactical. This one does not have a rail on it anywhere, so the only real attachments you can do now are the quick loading revolver attachments, which this is not that. It's just standard. Oh, my suppressor. Dang it. But anyways, let's move on to the next one. This one is also a very iconic weapon, but for some apparent reason they don't have another variant in there because it's still very new. Mauser C96, Han Solo's gun. That's where I know it best. It takes stripper clips. It's one of the first guns in the game to actually use stripper clips, which the way they do them is okay. There's 2 different ways you can remove them. You can just let go of it like that and then charge a weapon like that, and it just sort of drops it. Holds 8 in there, and the thing that I want them to add next is the Mauser Schnellfuhr, or whatever it's called, where it has the wood stock and it's fully automatic. That gun's really cool. This does take suppressors, and let's go get one. And it sounds really freaking awesome with a suppressor. It's one of the more quiet guns in the game. It's one of the most quietest guns with a suppressor. I mean, it's just really cool. Listen to this. That's just really cool. The sights aren't terrible, but yeah, it's a cool gun. It's pretty darn cool. Moving on, let's move back to the pistols. We have another new gun to the game. This is the Maxim 9, or the Hudson Maxim 9. I'm pretty sure it's what it's called in real life. This is a integrated suppressor gun, and it sounds pretty cool. Pretty sure 9 stands for 9mm, but this is a pretty cool gun. This is, again, not exactly a tactical gun, but it's pretty darn cool. So I really don't have much to say about that. I really don't use it. This is the newest item added to the game, and this is called the P30L, and I don't know exactly the origins of this, but it comes with this really weird like extension. I don't know what this is, but it looks interesting, but it does take a suppressor. And yes, this is one of the other sounds for a suppressor, but it does have its own sound, which is pretty cool. They're starting to add a lot more different sounds, which is better. Moving on, we have, I can't really read it. It's, let me here, I'll show you what it is. So, find it. It is, where is it? The P320 RX, and I'm pretty sure they added this gun in because John Wick was coming out at the time. I don't know if this was in John Wick, but really cool. It sounds really cool. It has an integrated red dot, which I don't like. Sounds pretty interesting. Can take suppressors, but I really don't care for this gun at all, so I'm not going to say much about it. Next one is the P350. This gun has been here since day one. It's weird sounding because I don't think the audio file is that great. It's one of the better pistols, even though it's really clunky. You can take a suppressor. Does 35 damage. Pretty darn. It's a big pistol, but it's fine. The next one is a revolver, and it is the Rhino 60DS. I can't really read it, but it's another revolver. The barrel's down here, and that's probably why it has very low recoil. I actually had never heard of this thing when it was introduced into the game. I guess it's iconic because there's different variants of it, especially a gold one. I don't really like the gold one, and the hand, as you can see, doesn't really fit in the grip very well, but it does more damage. 73. A little bit less than a Platinum Deagle, but it is a lot more expensive than Platinum Deagle. Actually, no, I'm not really sure if it's more expensive. But then this is the Rhino 60DS Steel. Again, none of these can take a suppressor. Yeah. The last revolver is the Smith & Wesson 629, which I don't even know if it's a real thing. It has 7 spots for shells. And for a while, it was the most powerful handgun in this game. Until the Matiba was put in, because that thing naturally does 200 damage. Because it did 198, and I thought that was pretty stupid. But anyways, the last one, which is sort of dinky, is the Walther P38. And this thing can take a suppressor, which is really cool. For the longest time, it couldn't, because it wasn't the newest gun in the game, and when it was introduced, I was like, oh, this is really cool. But you know what would make it even cooler? It has a suppressor, and then they decided to add it, which is really cool, but it sounds a lot, in my opinion, it sounds a lot better with, without it. Much like the P29, P9, it has a very small magazine, which is unfortunate because it's kind of cool. Now let's actually look at some of the SMGs. First up, we have the Scorpion Evo A3. This is a cool gun. I don't know if it's exactly like this in IRL, but it's pretty cool. It's stylish. Would it like that? I believe it's 45 ACP. I don't really know. Actually, no, I think it's 9mm. It has 3 different modes: safe, full auto, burst, and then semi. I like full auto a lot better because it's really freaky fast. And that's about it. Now, I don't know if it has this feature in real life where you can slap it down like that, but isn't really that jumpy for how, yeah. It also takes a suppressor, but it doesn't sound as cool. Some people may think it's cool, but I don't really find it cool. The next one is a very iconic weapon, and that is the 1928 A1, but you can just call it the Tommy gun or the Thompson machine gun because that's exactly what it is. One of the better SMGs, even though this thing jumps all over the place in full auto. Because I believe with the standard ammunition it does 48. Let me put on semi. Yeah, no, 42. I was mistaken. You can fire it down by your hip, which is because as you can just saw, I just went like all the way up there. But yeah, pretty darn cool. This one had a weird start because when it was introduced, you could put a suppressor on it, but now you can't. But the problem was the suppressor would hang right here, and it would shoot from the top of that suppressor at the target, which is actually pretty cool. There is also a bug I want to show you on one of the other guns in the game, which is pretty funny, but also sort of weird and quirky. But this is the M3 Grease gun. It does pretty good damage, I believe 41, one less than the Thompson, which is probably why you should buy the Thompson better, because for an SMG that is some slow fire rate. Next up is another World War II gun. We're starting a lot with the World War II guns. It's the MP40, German MP40. Collapsible stock, which you really want to keep open, because every time you go to prime, it's sort of right there, and when you go to prime, it's just gonna, you know, do that, which is kind of annoying. So keep that out. Also, it keeps it a little bit more stable with the stock. I don't know if you can. But yeah, so it's pretty darn interesting. It's not a gun I use. Just because, again, it jumps all over the place. And the reason that is because you can put two hands on it, but the game doesn't really operate well with two hands because, well, maybe right now it wants to, but it doesn't really operate well with two hands, because sometimes if you're facing a certain way, one controller will be in front of the other, and as you can see, it's doing that, where one hand turns out red, and the tracking just gets all combobulated, and as you can see, like, lags out like that. But so, yeah, I guess this is the better ones that use two hands. The MP5, the MP5A3 specifically, very iconic weapon. You see this in a lot of video games. But yeah, it's an MP5. Everyone knows about those, but there are two different other versions, which is the gold one and the platinum version, which is very expensive in the game. But yeah. Is there rain outside? Oh no, it's just windy. It's really sunny out. Never mind. So yeah, that's the gold and platinum version. The thing I like about the gold and platinum version is, where'd they go? Is the magazines, if I can actually reach it. Magazines have like color coordination, so you can see down here there's like a gold band, there's a platinum band on here, sort of signifying that it's the gold version. But if you can't tell, they have the same like wood style furniture. In fact, it's exactly the same down here on each handle. But yeah, very interesting. The next one that was definitely introduced because John Wick, MPX, submachine gun with a very fast fire rate. I don't know why it's doing that, but there we go. Cool thing that you can actually do is you can actually hit the gun and it'll close the bolt like that. But yeah, very fast fire rate. I believe this is 45 ACP. That is the other thing. Collapsible stock. It does not take muzzle brakes. Muzzle brakes? Yeah, which there are muzzle brakes in this game. It does take suppressors, though. Next one is the only gun in the game that has 4 different variants, which is the P90. Very fast fire rate with a very high capacity. I believe the most you can get is a 64 round magazine. And if you get any other of the following versions, you can unlock that. So this is the gold version. We also have a platinum version, as other versions are. So this is a platinum version. I like the platinum a little better, just I think the wood furniture on the gold one just doesn't go as good. But then there's a strange one. This one's called the P90 Reaper, which is just weird. You know those emo kids that put the skeleton memes? Yeah, this is sort of that, but there really is no difference. The only real difference is it does 27, which is really not much at all. But yeah, that's that first page. We still got quite more to go. This is the PP-19, or the PP Bison. Yeah, PP. Collapsible stock and weird magazine cylinder, I believe. Or you can call it a drum. I really don't know. Yeah, submachine gun version of an AK. Very loud and very high capacity. So, if you're looking for a good submachine gun that has a high capacity, the Bison might suit you. It does take suppressors, but not muzzle brakes, which is interesting. Another gun that doesn't take muzzle brakes, but takes suppressors is the PP-2000. I'm not sure if this is the same manufacturer as the Bison, but it's an interesting. It has a extended magazine in the back, has a stock or a pistol brace, and also has an integrated flashlight, which is annoying because it sometimes spawns with the flashlight on, and it hurts your eyes. But yeah, it has a couple different fire rates. Safety, fully automatic, and single. So, yeah. By the way, it's not mandatory to have that in there. In fact, it does spawn with this extended magazine, but it doesn't actually give you them. So no matter how many times you want to put more magazines in there, you still can't have an extended magazine, which kind of sucks. Next one is very well known, and that is the PPSH-41, or as the Russians call it, the Papasha, I think. Russian gun, crazy fast fire rate, and big drum, which isn't very reliable in the game either. Dual wielding 2 of those is really crazy. Again, it's a World War II gun, and most of the World War II guns are not very modifiable, but this one is, believe it or not. Next one is also sort of modifiable, and that is the Sten gun. Sten gun Mark II, specifically. Side charging, side feeding magazine. Very interesting British gun. British submachine gun. Very round submachine gun, but I don't use it because it sucks. Next one is the TMP, but I'm very sure it's called the MP9 somewhere. Or, yeah, it might be called the MP9. It does have in real life, I believe it does have a stock that's collapsible, but this one in the game does not. Yeah, it's submachine gun. There's a magazine. There's a little foregrip on here, so let's try that. And there goes the magazine. This does take suppressors, and I also believe, I think it can take muzzle brakes, but I'm not entirely sure. The sights are atrocious because it's just very wide. Yeah. UMP-45 is also very well known. I keep pressing the menu button, but I don't know why. Actually, one of the better submachine guns. It's probably the best submachine gun you can buy because it has it's very controllable. It has a slower rate of fire, so it's more controllable. Can take muzzle, flash, whatever it's called, muzzle brake, so it can have less recoil in this game. Foldable stock if you don't want it, which if you can get another stock to make it more stable and controllable, which I don't know why. What is my controller doing? I guess we're holding it like that. So here we go. Let's shoot this thing. It doesn't sound as good as many of the other guns in the game, but if I can, there we go. But yeah, has a decent capacity. Yeah, it's one of the more controllable guns in the game. Probably better. And we have the Uzi 9mm. This gun has been anticipated for a long time, just because it's very, very iconic. Not only for Arnold Schwarzenegger and his stogies, but it's just a really iconic weapon. Very slow rate of fire and jumps a lot. Well, it's definitely not slower than the grease gun. It's a little bit faster. Open bolt, foldable stock that cannot be replaced. I wish they added like wood furniture ones, but it's cool to hold with one hand, but I mean it's not that practical. Let's see if I can... This can take suppressors, but not muzzle brakes. And the next one we have is the Chris Vector, which is a new submachine gun. This has a crazy fast rate of fire, like the Scorpion. Very interesting concept design, and has somewhat... It sounds really weird and obnoxious. But yeah, it's interesting. Foldable stock. There's also two other versions. We have the white Vector, which I don't get. They probably should have added a platinum version, which I guess it's this platinum version, and the golden Vector, which is literally all gold gun. Most expensive submachine gun. Moving on, we have a very short list of assault rifles, believe it or not, even though there's many more assault rifles than submachine guns. But anyways, we have all the assault rifles here. We have an ACR. Yeah, it's an ACR. I mean, it's really nothing different. So yeah, it's an ACR. It does have a different variant, which is the ACR Desert, which is just like a desert camo, and I don't believe it does any difference in damage. AK-47, very iconic weapon. Still jumps a lot with two hands, but very iconic. So it does have a gold variant, which is actually kind of cool in my opinion, but yeah. Next one is, I guess, could be classified as a machine gun. The Bren Mark II. British upside-down gun. Has a huge, very jumpy with one hand. If you're using this two hands, it's sort of fine. But let me just show you how it is with one hand. Just look at this thing. Very, very interesting.